John and Ken Show. John Cobell and Ken Shampoo, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio. Tax Revolt 2012, heads on a stick.
Yeah, and, during this hour yesterday, we talked about another poll that's come out about that Proposition 30, Jerry Brown's tax increase. Many of the pundits believe that you really have to be around 60% or stronger as you head into Labor Day if you really want a ballot initiative to pass in November, because uncertain people are likely to turn on you. And the poll numbers are kind of stuck for Jerry Brown right now in the low 50s, maybe mid-50s approving the tax increase, so he's not cutting it. Now, the Associated Press did a big story today that we hope everybody reads. It starts like this. California Governor Jerry Brown has made austerity a hallmark of his administration, telling state workers they must turn in their cell phones, sell off state vehicles, severely reducing employee travel, and cutting billions from the general fund. He was counting on that record to help him sell his November ballot initiative seeking to boost state sales and income taxes. Yet a summer of headlines about state spending scandals and Brown's own push for some of the nation's most expensive infrastructure projects, high-speed rail, Browndoggle, has threatened to undermine his carefully crafted message and jeopardize the success of his tax initiative. The point here is, and we'll read more about this in a moment, is that people already don't normally vote to raise their own taxes. If you can throw these big logs on top of that fire with great ads telling everybody, you've got to be kidding me, Jerry Brown wants to raise your taxes while he's throwing billions of dollars at the high-speed rail boondoggle, while the state parks department was squirreling away $54 million in hidden money.
Well, it's always irritated me every time a Brown spokeshole talks about Jerry Brown's cutting talents. They always say, well, look what he did with the cell phones. Look what he did with the state cars. Look what he did about state employee travel. And all that stuff ought to be cut or ought to be eliminated entirely.
But how does it match up against $5 billion authorized in bonds for high-speed rail?
It's pennies. It's pennies. When you push a high-speed rail that's tens of billions of dollars, there's another project they talk about here, a $24 billion tunneling system to move water from the north to the south. I mean, between that and the high-speed rail, you're looking about over $80 billion worth of borrowing. And all these costs are way lowballed. It's really going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars for high-speed rail, especially when you add all the interest costs. So these numbers are phony low to begin with. But even at phony low, it's tens of billions of dollars, comparatively a few pennies, because he made everybody turn in the cell phones. And by the way, how much you want to find out in 2 years someone's going to do an audit? And it's like, despite what Jerry Brown said, it looks like state employee travel was not cut.
You're right, that is coming, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't believe they're walking around without cell phones. I don't believe they're driving around without state cars. I don't believe they're not going on all the junkets. I don't believe it. They say it, but they always lie, and then you find the story out 2 years later. They're always guilty until proven innocent. And they'll never be proven innocent because they're always guilty. They're completely distrustful. They're complete liars. What did they do? They gave out huge raises to all the staff members in the legislature. 1,000 staff members got huge raises. I mean,
that's the other piece of this. You're right. They gave out 1,000 legislative aides, got raises in Sacramento. It's scary enough that there's quite a few more than 1,000 aides to only 120 politicians in Sacramento, but they gave out raises while they're talking about trying to be frugal.
You know something? I read a story yesterday that some female journalist in Washington quit because she's sick of everybody lying to her all day. She just can't do a job anymore where everybody lies and all the journalists report the lies every day. She just finds it a stupid way to live, and it is. I marvel. I watch almost no news on television or political nonsense on TV anymore because everyone just is constantly lying and bloviating, and it's just a waste of, your short life on the planet. But I marvel at and I know everybody's making a good salary, so I get there's a financial incentive. But God, waking up every morning and repeating and analyzing all the lies and bullcrap out of the mouths of everybody in politics and everybody in government, jeez. What a waste of your life. Just what a horrific waste of life. And they promote the same lies every day, and the journalists report the same lies, and on and on and on and on. And it's just all nonsense. Nobody's telling the truth here.
And another piece to this is going to be the public employee pensions. They'll do nothing in Sacramento. And Jerry Brown said, as he kicked off his campaign for higher taxes this week, this is not about any other issue. It's not about pensions. It's not about the parks. It's about one simple question. Shall those who have been blessed beyond imagination, and he's talking about people that make more than $250,000 a year, give back 1 or 2 or 3% for the next 7 years, or should we take billions out of our schools and colleges? Again, he's holding the children hostage. While we spend about half the budget on the schools, why does he have to use them and put them front and center as, if you don't pass my taxes, I'm going to take this knife out and cut their money?
Yeah. Why? It's like he's got a knife to a child's throat here.
Research shows them that voters are swayed when you hold the K through 12 kids hostage. That if you do not, well, I don't know. Taxes don't normally pass anyway. The history in California is not good for people voting to tax themselves. And we are talking about a sales tax that will affect everybody.
And he and his idiots know this. So
they think their best chance is by holding the schools hostage.
That's right. They intentionally passed a law last year, which includes automatic cuts to the schools if the tax doesn't pass. So they wrote a law to set up a premise that if we don't get the tax increase, the schools are going to get cut. Now, you have to untie all this garbage here. If the taxes pass, the money is not going to the schools. It's already been well documented. The money's going to go to the teachers' pension fund. The teachers' pension fund is not your kid's school. It's their pension fund. It's so that, 40 years from now, they get a big fat check in the mail. So the idea that any of the money is going to your school is nonsense. The other tax initiative, Prop 38, which raises income taxes on almost everybody, that money is going directly to the schools. If you want to vote on increased taxes and the money really goes to your school, you vote for 38. Brown's initiative goes to the teacher's pension fund, not to your school. So, I wish when everybody votes, it's clear what you're voting on. If you want to raise taxes and the money goes to the schools, Prop 38 is what you want, not Prop 30. That is deceptive. It's about pensions. Everything's about pensions. And again, the reason 80%, as we told you, 80% of your school's budget has nothing to do with the classroom itself or the school supplies or the football program or the arts program or the trombone program. 80% is salaries, pensions, and health care benefits. The teachers, if there was justice in the world, would be backed into a corner and forced to take less benefits, less health care, less salary. They have the highest salaries in the nation already. And what do they produce? I just read the other day that about 1/4 of the kids are failing the high school exit exams in the state. 1/4 of them. Seems like right there all the teachers ought to take a 25% pay cut. You put kids through 13 years worth of school, 13 years worth of public schooling, and the exit exam, which is really, really, really easy, 1/4 of them fail it. So why would you give anybody more money when it's a 25% failure rate? And in L.A., as we've told you a million times, 50 to 60% of the kids drop out before they even get to the exit exam. That's what's funny. These are the kids who actually made it to 12th grade. In L.A., half of them don't make it to 12th grade, and then of the ones that make it, over 1/4 of them fail the exit exam. So why should they be the highest paid in the nation? Everything about this is crazy.
On our side, California voters have rejected the last 8 statewide measures on the ballot to raise taxes, including in June when they wanted to raise the tax on cigarettes to fund the phony cancer research. Against us is the fact that so far the Prop 30 people have raised over $10 million. The anti-Prop 30 people, $500,000. And when Jerry Brown gets exhausted and stops holding the schools hostage, apparently his backup plan is to mention public safety is also at risk. It's the same old tired arguments.
It's not. But if you remember back in 2009, Schwarzenegger's tax extension, I think the anti-tax forces were outspent $30 million to $3 million.
That's correct.
And that tax extension lost 65-35.
But remember, that was also a June vote. Now we're dealing with November, and we're dealing with a presidential election. the low information people. That's what I worry about. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk some more. And speaking of the pensions, what a great story in the Sacramento Bee. And, of course, we've talked a lot about the city of Stockton. Is it possible, if any city or even the state of California goes into bankruptcy, there could be trouble for the public employee pension system? We'll explain.
John and Ken Show, KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.